left-wing maniacs. No longer will government target the left's political enemies. Instead, we will once again target violent criminals. I want to go after the criminals. These are mentally deranged or bad people, and we have to go after them and stop worrying about somebody that will never hurt anybody with a gun, just wants the gun for protection or whatever. We will get them behind bars, and we will keep them behind bars. They don't even, now in New York, we have a district attorney. You can kill somebody, and you don't even have to put up bail. They're out the next hour, 2 hours. It's insane, and that's true with many different cities. I don't even know, you talk about April Fool's Day. I don't even know who would think that this is good. Murderers, killers, violent animals are released onto the streets immediately. They don't even spend time in jail. The first duty of government is to protect its citizens. As an example, when you see these gangs of hundreds of young, usually young people, go and attack an department store in San Francisco and Los Angeles and Chicago, and they run in by the hundreds, and they're running out carrying refrigerators and carrying air conditioners and big stuff, big, little, everything. Fur coats, non-fur coat, everything they're carrying. They empty out the stores. And our police are incredible, but they're not allowed to do their job. They want to do their job so badly. They're standing there, they're shaking, they want to do their job. It'd be so easy to do, but they're not allowed to do their job because of these radical lunatics we have thinking they're doing the right thing. I don't even think they do think they're doing the right thing. The politically incorrect truth that no one on the left wants to admit is that violent crime is rarely committed by legal gun owners. It is committed by a brutal class of hardened, repeat criminals. That's who's doing it. In San Francisco, and who would have thought San Francisco, one of the most beautiful cities in the world? In San Francisco, murder suspects have an average of 13.9 prior arrests and 9.2 felony arrests. Think of that one. In Portland, shooting suspects have an average of 8. Prior arrests and 9 criminal charges. In Washington, D.C., a place that I'm very familiar with, 4 years, when I saw tents going up, I had to take them down immediately. Immediately. You can't do that on these incredible parks and these incredible monuments, and they were putting tents up, and I take them down immediately because you can do that much easier than when you have hundreds and even thousands. You have to see what's happened to Washington, D.C. since I've left. It's horrible. Beautiful lawns with tents all over. No respect for our country, no respect for anything. But in Washington, D.C., an estimated 70% of all violent crime, and there's a lot of it involving guns, is concentrated among a group of just 500 chronic lawbreakers. Think of that. With most suspects arrested 11 times at least before being involved in a murder. They ultimately end up in a murder. And then they end up getting like a year, and sometimes less, and sometimes they're not even prosecuted. The only one they want to prosecute is Donald Trump. Let's get Trump. Let's get that son of a bitch. Let's get him. It's unbelievable, actually. These people are sick. They are lunatics. This career criminal class cares nothing about gun laws in Chicago. Just 3% of prison inmates who used a gun bought it at a store. So all of the gun owners in this room, a lot of them. Who's a gun owner? Who's a gun owner, first of all? Let's go differently. Is there anybody in the room who doesn't own a gun? Please raise your hand if you have the courage. Okay, and how many people own gun stores and sell guns? How many people in the room? Okay, good. Good, that's all good, good. Good business. That's good. But let's be very clear, the issue is not too many guns. The issue is too many thugs, hoodlums, and savage criminals on our street. That's really what the issue is. Instead of getting these dangerous killers into jail, we have radical DAs and attorney generals, prosecutors, all across this country subverting the law to attack conservative people and religious people, evangelicals, Christians. The very same raging radical left lunatic attorney general that is coming after me in New York State is also waging war on the NRA, shamefully trying to destroy this legendary organization that's been an American institution since 1871. You know, when the NRA endorsed me in 2016 for the 2016 campaign, it was fairly early. And I do have two sons who are really good shots. I don't know if you know. Eric and Don. If they were golfers, they'd be scratch. Maybe better than scratch, actually. But they're really good. They've been a member of the NRA for a long time. And I think maybe that helped. But they endorsed me. That was considered one of the greatest things to do. That was like getting into the Wharton School of Finance or getting into Harvard or getting into a great college. That was a great thing. And they endorsed me very early. And it was a great honor. We did a great job. And they better endorse me again. Well, they're going to have some explaining to do. They'll have some explaining to do. No, I think we're in pretty good. I do believe we're in pretty good shape. And when you see the polls in a little while, you can understand that we're in pretty good shape. I've never seen such spirit as there is right now. I've never seen. And part of that, sadly, is because they are doing such a horrible job of running our country, which is really destroying our country. And I think it makes us even more popular, to be honest with you. They are doing such a horrible job. What they're doing is destroying our great country. I want to congratulate you for fighting it so bravely, all of the things that have been happening to you. The racist in reverse ran for office on the promise, I will get Trump. You ever see the commercial? I will get Trump. I'm going to get him. Didn't know anything about me. She's running for office. I said, who is that maniac? But I'm watching her campaign, and a lot of people in the race, and, you know, you get a few people that vote. Very few people, actually, it takes to get in. But she proclaimed, I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every single day, suing him, and then going home, being very happy. I said, oh, gee, I hope she gets in. I hope she will. But she announced, what is fueling my soul right now is Trump getting Trump. And she knows nothing about me. So it's not an investigation. You're going through the same thing. It's a persecution. Just like her attacks on the NRA and just like the witch hunts against us by the Manhattan DA, the Marxist DA in Atlanta, and the guy I have watching, this guy's central casting, the guy from Washington, special prosecutor. They say special counsel. I call it a prosecutor. It's much better. They're looking at the boxes hoax. Biden has 1,850 boxes that are unaccounted for. He had many boxes in Chinatown. Classified information, many boxes. They got them out of there, but they got caught. It's called obstruction. And they sent them up to Boston, and they sit up in Boston. And then it was revealed that he got millions of dollars from the Chinese. He got millions of dollars. But he has boxes in Chinatown, boxes all over the place. They don't care about that. They only care about Trump. But they're trying to arrest their political opposition. It's really very much like the old Soviet Union. They call it Soviet style with the elections and with the interference. They're interfering with the election. That's what they're doing. It's going to be hard for them to get away with the kind of corruption they did when they had COVID, because COVID made a lot of things bad for a lot of people. But they cheated, and it's going to be hard. So now I really believe they're going the prosecutorial way. That's the route, where they use prosecutors to... Don't forget, if you're, like with me, it's sort of interesting because my numbers have gone way up. You explained this to me. My numbers have gone way up. But other people, because you know me. You know, the truth is the American public knows me well, and they know that's not my deal. But they don't know a lot of people running for office. So if you have a young, good Republican running for office, gets a subpoena, and then they leak it out to the papers, it's impossible for this guy to win a race. But the good news is we've gone way up. So we've done something that I don't believe is ever done before. We're going to stay there, or we're going to go even higher if we can. I'm not sure you can go higher, but we're going to go even higher if you can, because we have to save our country. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I'm just sort of in the way. I'm in the way of these people. And as everybody knows, it's all because we're leading so big in the polls, not only against Republicans, but also against Joe Biden. And if you take a look, this week's morning console poll, I led the field by 33 points, with Trump 56, DeSantis 23, Pence 5. I hope you gave Pence a good, warm approval. Because he is a nice man, if you want to really know the truth. He's a good man. And I heard it was very rough. It's a big news story. You've made news today. I don't know what you did, but you made news today with the introduction you gave. And Nikki Haley, that's a beauty. She's at 4, and Abbott's at 1. I don't think Abbott's going to run, governor of Texas. In a two-way poll of Florida last week, it was Trump 47 and DeSantis 32%. And there was another poll in Florida where Trump was at 80 and DeSantis was at 15. That's a Florida poll. In Texas, it's Trump 52%, DeSantis 20, Pence 5, Haley 4. You know, the only way we can lose is if we go prevent defense. Do you agree? Do you know what that means, right? In football, where they're holding the team to no score, and then they go prevent the last 2 minutes, and they lose the game. We will never go prevent. But you can take a look on the screen, and you'll see some of these things posted, and they're really big polls. In Massachusetts, we're leading by, I think, like 45, almost 50 points. In New Hampshire, we're leading by a lot. In Iowa, the farmers can never vote for me. I got China to pay the farmers $28 billion for the damage that they caused. I said, you got to pay. And so you see some of these, I just thought you'd put them up. Remember in the old days, I used to always announce polls, only if they were good. I wouldn't announce them if they weren't good. If I had a bad one, I would. But when they were good, I used to drive the opposition crazy. But we're leading Biden now by a lot, 7 points, 9 points, and a 10-point, but 7 points in the last Rasmussen poll. And I am the one that they don't want to run against. That's why they're coming after me like this. If they wanted me to run, they'd say, oh, no, he is the most perfect human being we've ever seen. Instead, they put these monsters in there. They put these radical left crazy people in. Now, if they want to, they're the party of disinformation. Remember that. What they say, you can usually go the opposite. They say, oh, yeah, we want to run against Trump. In the meantime, they got 5,000 prosecutors after my ass. We want to run against him so bad. We're going to run against him. That's the guy we want, Trump. By the way, please take him out of politics. Please get him out as fast as you can. Now, they're the party of disinformation or misinformation. Nobody knows the difference, but they're pretty close. It's no wonder that the far-left crazies are engaging in election interference on a historic scale. Nobody outside of this country, nobody has ever seen anything like what's happening now with the prosecutors, these Marxist prosecutors who release rapists and murderers while persecuting conservatives. On day one of my new administration, I will direct the DOJ with a very strong leader, not like Barr, not like Bill Barr. What a disaster he was. He was a rhino. He was afraid of being impeached. Please, I don't want to be impeached. So how do you not get impeached? Don't do anything. You don't do anything. Remember, they were going to impeach him, and then all of a sudden, he actually said, no, he didn't see any wrongdoing in the election. My young son, very young, saw a lot of wrongdoing in the election. Did anybody in this room, can they say they didn't see any wrong? That was the worst horror show, I think, one of the greatest criminal acts ever, the election of 2020. But we will turn that around, and it'll be even bigger. You know what? It'll be even bigger. If you think about it, it'll be even bigger, be much bigger than having one. And we'll be able to do things we could have never done because they have shown so bad. In other words, they want to show us, well, they showed us. We have no energy. We have massive crime. Our military doesn't work. Nobody respects us in the whole world. I mean, there's not a leader that respects our leader. We will show them through this horrible 4 years that we're going through. The problem is we can't take any more of it because we're not going to have a country left. But we will show them that we can do things, and we'll be able to do things on crime and other elements of society. We'll be able to do things that you probably wouldn't have been able to do if you just carried it forward. So I think it's actually much bigger. This could be much bigger than if we went the more traditional route. I will direct the DOJ to investigate every radical DA and Attorney General in America for their illegal race and reverse-based enforcement of the law. I will then appoint a team of warrior U.S. attorneys, and I know some great ones, including from this area, who will be the polar opposite of the Soros district attorneys. These guys, I mean, what they're thinking, who can believe? I mean, they're not stupid people. They're not stupid people. There's two things. They're either stupid or they hate our country. And I don't think they're stupid. Because anybody that can cheat so well in an election, they're not stupid. That means they hate our country. And I believe they hate our country. They will be the 100 most ferocious crime fighters in American history, and I will task them with demolishing every gang, street crew, and criminal network they can find piece by piece until public safety is fully restored. And that means in Democrat-run cities. And at the top of the list is Washington, D.C. itself, which is absolutely plagued by numbers and crime that nobody's ever seen before. We've never seen anything like what's happening in Washington, D.C. Can you imagine these foreign leaders coming over from countries and they're looking at this filth and squalor and crime in our capital? And I think we have to take it over. We have to take over management of our capital, because the people that are running, including the mayor, who did nothing about January 6th, he was along with crazy Nancy Pelosi, they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. They were supposed to. They're in charge of it. But all of our Democrat-run cities are being absolutely ruined and destroyed as we sit here and talk. They're being ruined. I will order the ATF to stop bullying gun store owners and wanting to shut them down for paperwork errors, and instead go after drug dealers, human traffickers, and criminal cartels, which is what they should be going after. Under Biden, other countries are emptying out their prisons, insane asylums, and mental institutions and sending them right here to the USA. Can you imagine? Prisons and mental institutions are being emptied out. I read a story not long ago where a man who takes care of a large segment of people in a mental institution in a South American country, a doctor, sounded like a great man, actually. He said he no longer has anything to do. He used to work 24-hour days. He said, all of our patients have been released into the United States of America. And this is what we have. This is what we've allowed to happen, and we can't allow this to happen, because we will not have a country any longer. We can't allow it to happen. Under my leadership, we will quickly restore the most secure border in U.S. history. We had the strongest border in history, and now we have, I think, the worst border in the history of the world, because no country, even a third world country, would allow what's happening right now to us to happen to them. The first reconciliation bill I signed for a massive increase in Border Patrol. These Border Patrol, Brandon Judd and all of his people, they're incredible, the job they do. Tom Homan, as a man that knows it, you see him on television. I call him central casting, but these two guys and all of the people that work with him, they're so good. They want to do their job. It's going to be a colossal increase in the number of ICE and Border Patrol deportation officers, following the Eisenhower model. I don't know if you know, Dwight Eisenhower was very tough on the subject. We will use all necessary state, local, federal, and military resources to carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. And I will ask every state and federal agency to identify every known or suspected gang member in America. And every one of them that is here legally, we will pick them up and we will send them back to the country from which they came. As we restore safety to our streets, we have no choice. As we restore safety to our streets, we must also restore it to our schools, hardening places of learning. We have to harden our assets to protect our children against threats of any kind. Last month, our hearts were shattered by news of the monstrous attack on a Christian elementary school in Nashville that claimed the lives of 3 adults and 3 precious children. Today, we wrap those beautiful families in our love and we lift them up in our prayers. We also salute the law enforcement heroes who ran into danger and took out that killer with speed and skill that made us all very, very proud. That made us all very, very proud. It's a scandal and a tragedy that year after year, Democrats in Washington continue to hold common sense school safety measures hostage to their radical gun control agenda, which in virtually all cases would do nothing to prevent attacks by demented and disturbed individuals, of which we have many, and many are coming into our country, but we're getting them out. Our country has been chock full of guns for centuries, and there was no talk of massacres of school children until around the year 2000. That's when it really started. They started talking about it. This is not a gun problem. This is a mental health problem. This is a social problem. This is a cultural problem. This is a spiritual problem. Each and every one of these heinous attacks depend on the same cold-blooded calculation that the evil monster will have a window of time to act out their demonic fantasy unchallenged. They want to be unchallenged. They don't want challenge. The only way to stop these wicked acts is to ensure that any sicko who would shoot up a school knows that within seconds, not minutes, they will face certain death. They have to know that, and they won't be doing it. For this reason, I will ask Congress to repeal totally ineffective legislation that makes it harder to protect our schools and easier for criminals to face absolutely no opposition when they go in. I will also create a new tax credit to reimburse any teacher for the full cost of a concealed carry firearm and training from highly qualified experts. Who's better? Who's better? If even 5% of teachers, people that are skilled with arms, we want that, 5% were voluntarily armed and trained to stop active shooters, we would achieve effective deterrence and the problem would cease to exist. And that would be a lot of people. But these are all people that are trained and talented with firearms. For about $12 billion, we could fund armed security guards at the entrance to every school in America and also arm every willing teacher. We want to arm some of these teachers. They have to go through rigorous, or as some people say, vigorous. I like vigorous better. I don't like rigorous. They have to go through vigorous training, but they're already there. And they'll do better than anybody you could put in. And they love our children. They really love our children. If we can send $120 billion to Ukraine, then we can afford 1/10 of that amount to protect American children in American schools. We also need to drastically change our approach to mental health. Upon my inauguration, I will direct the FDA to convene, and it's going to happen quickly, to convene an independent outside panel to investigate whether transgender hormone treatments and ideology increase the risk of extreme depression, aggression, and even violence. I think most of us already know the answer, don't we? Furthermore, we have to look at whether common psychiatric drugs, as well as genetically engineered cannabis and other narcotics, are causing psychotic breaks. A lot of problems. We're having problems that we've never seen before, and people sort of think they understand why. We must also be much better at detecting warning signs of evil, disturbed young men like the one who murdered colleagues in Louisville. We cannot rest until we get to the bottom of all of the sickness that we're seeing in our country. I will fight to restore our safety, and I will also fight to reclaim our freedom. We're going to have freedom in our country. We're going to be able to walk down the street and buy a loaf of bread and come back and not be shot. To defend our Constitution and the rule of law, I will give you my word today that I will appoint rock-solid constitutional conservatives to crush